Hey everybody, I'm Bob Clagett from I Like to Make Stuff. I've got a channel here on YouTube where I make all sorts of stuff. I do metalworking and woodworking and 3D printing and electronics and a bunch more. I also teach Fusion with a course called Fusion for Makers, and I've got a couple of plugins available for Fusion as well. But today we're here because I want to walk you through the modeling process of one of my recent projects. And that project is to make a really simple metal die. Basically, I was doing some work on restoring a 1970 Volkswagen Karmann Ghia, and I had this little bracket that I wanted to replicate. I didn't need a metal die to make this, you could do it by hand, but I thought it was a good reason for me to learn how to model this piece in Fusion and a die to be able to create it. So today, that's what we're gonna do. Now, I did want to point out, I don't have a lot of experience making dies for pressing metal, but that's not really the point. The point is being able to solve the problem of how do you create this shape, and then how do you create something around it that can make this shape with a piece of metal. So our first goal here is to recreate this piece in Fusion. I want it to be as close as possible. So I need to take measurements of all of these different pieces, the thickness of the material, the angle at which these pieces are coming up, and obviously all of the lengths and sizes of everything. The first thing we're going to do here is create a new file in Fusion. And so when I create a new file, I'm going to select hybrid design. There are many options here, but that's the one that works best for me because that's the way I've always worked in Fusion. It's a great place to start. Now you'll notice a little pop-up shows up here called default parameters. And this is basically because I created a Fusion plugin called default parameters that automatically adds parameters to new files. I've got a set of parameters that I often use around tolerances and radius and stuff like that. And so those get automatically added to new files every time I create them. It's not necessary, but it is really handy, which is why I made it. The first thing I always do is save the name of the file just so that that's out of the way and we don't lose anything. Then we're going to go in and create a new component, but not just any component. The first thing we want to do is make a sheet metal component because I want to be able to recreate this as a piece of sheet metal. Obviously, you need to name the component, and you need to select the type, which is going to be sheet metal in this case, and then also select the material rules, which in this case is going to be steel. Then when you go over to the sheet metal environment, you can open up the different materials and edit anything that you need to. In this case, we need to edit the thickness of the material to match my original piece. Other than that, we're going to leave all the rules around steel in place because the only thing that changed was the thickness of the material. Now I want to insert an image. This is an image I took of the original piece from directly above over a cutting mat that had measurements on it. I'm going to use this as a canvas so I can draw this piece as a sketch the exact right dimensions. To get the image the correct size, the first thing you have to do is to calibrate it, and this takes two known points on your image and basically describes the distance between them, and that will scale your image to the right size. Next up, we need to make a sketch of the flat part of this image, not the entire thing, just the kind of center flat section. Then we'll make the two flanges that fold up later. Now that we've got that sketch of the flat area, we need to extrude it into a piece of sheet metal. To do this, we want to make the base sheet metal piece by using the flange tool. This will extend it out and create our kind of central piece that everything else will be connected to. Now to create the two outside flanges, we just use the flange tool again, and then we select each one of the edges one at a time that we want to flange. Now we're doing these one at a time because they're actually at different angles, and so we need to do them separately. On this second flange, we need it to be at 20 degrees or 70 degrees, depending on how you're looking at it. So I want to make sure I make that change before I hit OK. And then we have to kind of adjust something. You'll notice that the ends of these two flanges that we created overlap in a way that they really shouldn't. All we have to do is push these outside faces in to match the kind of area underneath using the push-pull tool. Now before we start working on the inside and the outside of the die, we need to take advantage of the fact that we made a sheet metal component. You can unfold this three-dimensional component into a flat shape and then export that file out so that you can cut it on whatever machine you have available. So let's do that now. This is super easy to do. Just go up to your menu and click on Create Flat Pattern. This will allow you to unfold all of the different folds of your piece into a flat pattern. Then you can export that as a DXF out to whatever you need. Now, back to building the actual die for this. The way I'm going to go about this, which is not necessarily the only way, is to create the inside and the outside around each one of the curves at the same time. I'm going to use the geometry of the piece to be able to draw a section on the inside and the outside as a sketch, and then we can extrude those. Now that we've got that shape on the inside and the outside, we can extrude those pieces all the way back to the depth of the entire finished piece. Again, this is really handy that you can just click on a face and it will extrude to that position. Now that we've got two pieces that represent the inside and the outside of just that one little section, we're going to build this in pieces and then attach it all together. Now we got to flip over and do the other side, the other flange that has the 20-degree lean on it. Now I've got this sketch drawn and I'm going to extrude it the exact same way all the way to the back of the piece. Now I'm going to hide the sheet metal and you can see that we now have 4 unique pieces, individual pieces that represent the different flanges, and we need to start tying them together. And part of that is just pulling the bottoms and the tops of these pieces so that they line up and we can make clean final shapes. Now I'm going to start working on the connective pieces between the 2 inside pieces and, separately, the 2 outside pieces. Creating a sketch on the surface and then just drawing a shape in between them is super fast and super easy. Then we can extrude that and join the centerpiece and the 2 curves into one interior die piece. So now we've got the, I guess, positive piece that goes on the inside of the sheet metal, but we got to do the same thing for the outside. With that done, you can see that I have the outside and the inside of the die. The most basic parts are now separate bodies, and you can actually see the gap in between them where the sheet metal goes. In fact, we can unhide the sheet metal component and see it in between the 2 pieces. Now at this point, everything is starting to get a little bit kind of hard to see because it's all basically the same color. We can easily turn on colors for components so that we can see these separately, make them distinguishable. With the colors in place, you can see the 3 distinct pieces, which just makes it easier to understand what you're looking at. But also a cool thing that we could do right here is to add a joint. And this joint will show how the 2 pieces of the die will actually move together and into each other. This is also very easy to do. Joints can be really simple or really complex depending on what you're doing. We're going to do a simple slider joint. To make this joint, I'm going to go to As Built Joint and create a joint between these 2 components. So I have to select both of the components, the type of joint, which is going to be slider, and then the axis that they need to move on. You can also set boundaries on that, a minimum, a maximum amount of move, a snapback location, and it makes it really easy to be able to test something out in the modeling environment and have it go right back to where you need it to be. Now that we have these pieces moving as if they will in the real world, we also have to consider the fact that in the real world, they're not necessarily going to stay in place. We need to make some keys, physical keys, so that the sheet metal will stay where we want it while it's being squished down in between the 2 dies. The simplest way to do this is to take advantage of some of the geometry of the piece of metal. It's already going to be built into our sheet metal, so we need to make a little physical key that can rest on to line everything up. To do this, I'm going to look down at my piece of sheet metal, create a new sketch, and then take advantage of the curve that I've already made to make a new sketch for the little back unused section. Now this unused section can be extruded into one of the pieces of the die, and now we have a physical key to line up the sheet metal before we try to press it. Now theoretically, we could 3D print both parts of the die, we could laser cut the steel, sandwich all 3 of them together, and press them down. But the reality is we need to make sure that the top and the bottom pieces of the die actually stay relative to each other as well. So we need to add a little bit to the back unused section of our die pieces to lock them together. So looking at my bottom piece, my outside piece of the die, I'm going to go ahead and extend the shape a little bit by creating a new sketch, draw some extra shape back there, and then also put a little curve on the inside of it. Now this curve is actually there so that the inner piece and the outer piece of the die don't have a flat face that they're touching, because then they can slide against each other. We need them to lock in place both vertically and horizontally. So this little curve will act as a key between the 2 pieces. Now that I've got that curve shape, I can extrude it out on the inner piece, adding the little curve to the back side of my inner piece of the die. And then once that's there, I can actually cut it out of the outer piece of the die so that they match up really well. And you can see that these 2 pieces move against each other. But there's one more little real-world issue that we have to take into account. When you 3D print something, if you put in exact sizes in your model, they will probably print exactly those sizes, which means that they typically do not fit together, or they can't pass by each other. Which means you need to build in some clearance. Clearance is the amount of space in between 2 faces so that they have a certain amount of friction between them, or not friction between them, whatever you need. This is only going to matter on the faces of the die that touch each other, not the parts that touch the metal. The metal is going to fill that gap and be bent into place. That's what we want. But these back edges, the keyed edges of our inner and outer dies, need to have a little bit of clearance so that they can actually pass by each other. This is super easy to do. You can just grab the faces that need to have clearance on them and then use the push-pull tool to push them back just a little bit. My kind of personal standard clearance that I use for things in my default parameters is 0.02 millimeters. Obviously, it's going to depend on your application, but that's kind of where I start. If we zoom in here, you can actually see the little bit of gap in between the pieces as they move past each other, and that is our clearance. Now, from my limited experience in my video, I did find out that once you get these two pieces pressed together with a piece of sheet metal in between them, even though it works really well, they're hard to get apart. So in this model, I'm going to add some release holes in the bottom of this. These are just through holes on the outside of the die that give me a place to be able to press a tool through to actually separate the pieces. This should make it a lot easier to use. So there you go. We have a really, really simple metal die, but it shows you the process of being able to take a real world object, both model that object, but then model something around that object to be able to create it. This process actually worked out super well for me, and if you want to see the entire video about how I made the piece and how I used it, you can go check that out over on my channel. I like to make stuff. To me personally, one of the coolest things about Fusion is that there are so many different ways to accomplish so many different tasks. This is the way I did this, but I guarantee you that somebody else has a different, more unique, and maybe even better way to model the exact same thing. But hopefully this gave you just a quick preview into how easily you can use Fusion to be able to take an idea and make it in the real world. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope this was helpful. I'll see you on the next one.